Hi everybody, Professor Wills here from Pasadena City College. Well, we're beginning our course, Art History 1A, and beginning way back when in the Stone Age. So let's get into it. From this point forward, you're responsible for the content that I'll be delivering through these mini lectures, the content pages, and any other resources I'll be posting to Canvas. All right, so let's get going with the Stone Age. What I wanted to talk about is this is the era where the Ice Age was a real thing. Looking to the continent of Europe, we had much of it, covered in ice, literally frozen over. And the people who lived in that time were nomadic, meaning they didn't have settled communities. They moved from place to place, often chasing their food and other resources that they needed to sustain themselves. So during this time, you find that artistic expression is still happening regardless, and that's what's really fascinating about the Stone Age, is that you find that humans begin representing the world around them in pictures. Now, the earliest expression of this is to be found on the continent of Africa. But what we're going to do is we're going to focus on this concentration of incredible art found in some 200 cave sites in Europe, particularly in France and northern Spain. So without further ado, let's move on to that PowerPoint and I'll show you what I'm talking about. All right, I'm going to minimize myself. This is how I deliver my lectures here and try to include a small snapshot of myself talking to you as much as possible until I start blocking relevant content. So you may see me come and go from time to time. So bringing up the PowerPoint here, I wanted to introduce our unit, The Art of the Stone Age. You can look at it as a earlier time and a later time. So the earliest period is the Paleolithic period, followed by the Neolithic period. So paleo means old, lithos means stone. Those are Greek terms of linguistic origin, referring to this time in very, very ancient history. So we're going to begin with Paleolithic art. For the purposes of this course. So looking at our next PowerPoint slide, you can see a map of Europe, and this is indicative here of some of the named cave sites where they've discovered all this incredible art that has, for whatever reason, had the right climatic conditions and protection from the elements to have survived, some 30,000 years. And what you can see again, that same location in northern Spain, southern France that I was talking about. So here's a sample of that kind of cave art. We'll look at that very example more specifically in just a few minutes here. But some key concepts to keep in mind regarding Paleolithic art. Again, we're looking at circa. So whenever you see that CA period, it doesn't mean California. It is an abbreviation of the word from Latin. Circa, you can think of it meaning about. We're not going to see artworks where people are going to know the exact year when they were created. Whereas nowadays, artists, of course, sign, their artwork and put a date on it, that kind of thing. No, that was very unusual in the ancient world and definitely not something that they were aware of. The concept of, dating items or tracking time in the Paleolithic world, but we're looking at circa 30,000 to 8,000 BCE. A few things to keep in mind in regard to Paleolithic art in terms of what they employed, and some of the key artistic conventions are: one, the dominance of animals in art versus humans. I know, we love photographing ourselves, taking selfies, talking about ourselves. Humans were our favorite subject, right? That is not true in the Paleolithic world, surprisingly. The second thing to keep in mind that we'll meet in this discussion is something called the twisted view or combined view. I'll show you what I'm talking about. That helps recognition of what you're looking at. And then the third concept is something called selective exaggeration. That will apply to a little statuette we're going to take a look at in the content page that follows this mini lectures that I'm presenting right now. But those are three concepts to keep in mind with Paleolithic art. All right, the first site, and I'm just going to make myself disappear for a couple minutes here so you can read all of the content on the PowerPoint slide, is our first stop will be France. And we are going to visit the caves at Lascaux in Paleolithic France. They date from about circa 16,000 to 14,000 BCE. So what you can see in this particular slide is a long cave. And some of these caves can go for several feet, but some can extend, 100 feet, even deeper, with all kinds of corridors and sections. And what you find in these Paleolithic destinations is that they would treat them almost like galleries, and they would paint on the walls of the caves, and you can see that in this particular slide. Moving on to another detail shot, looking up, you can see a plethora of animals as subject matter, particularly bulls. And I'll show you a really great example in just a minute here. Just want to have you see this particular view. This is another section that I'm going to highlight as a specifically exceptional example of Paleolithic cave painting at the cave at Lascaux, and it's nicknamed the Hall of Bulls. So same dates apply, but I'm just giving you a little view of some of the bulls that you can see painted on the walls. And again, it's the dominance of animals as subject that you find in this cave and many cave sites in Europe. All right, this is a broader view here, and I'll come back to you so you can see me while I'm talking to you, of that same Hall of Bulls. Now, looking at this, it looks like they're all gathered together as if it's a herd of different kinds of animals. You can see the two horns of the bull, you can see a horse, you can see sort of a longer antlered animal, perhaps that's some kind of an elk or a deer. That's not uncommon. Smaller deer are certainly here as well, as I move my mouse in a circle for you to see here. And it looks like almost like this kind of dark color here is some kind of a ground line, like when we learn to draw, back in preschool, kindergarten, you often kind of draw your grassy field and maybe your stick figures. I think even small children understand that kind of concept. What's happening here isn't like that, though. That is just a kind of a stain, a mineral deposit that you see at the Hall of Bulls here. Let me show you some restoration photos going on here and some crouched humans. You get a sense of scale. Here's that larger bull I showed you in that earlier slide, measuring actually about 6 feet in height by 11 feet across, so quite large, but that doesn't mean that the other animals are to scale, meaning they aren't necessarily measured in their size based on what the largest one is. So you may have a horse, which we know is probably a taller, larger animal, even in Paleolithic times, but it is represented smaller here. So too with the deer or other animals, there's no consistency in scale of a naturalism rendering these animals similar in size to one another. What you also find here is that you get this mix of both silhouette, so some animals are represented as solid, filled-in colored forms or silhouettes. Others might be in outline, like the bull you see here. But even though the animal is in outline, you can see there's another animal underneath the bowl, like it's got a kind of a transparent see-through look. All of this is what scholars have deduced is that the murals you find in these Paleolithic caves were executed in kind of a piecemeal fashion, perhaps over centuries, perhaps even longer. So you have multiple generations of artists and painters arriving to these Paleolithic sites and rendering maybe the bull. Then a century later, you may have somebody come in rendering the horse. So it's got this additive approach. There's no master design that we're so used to in, mural art, for instance, in contemporary downtown LA. No, it's piecemeal. It's inconsistent. So there's no, obligation to have that animal have a relationship to another figure left by an earlier artist. So different artists, different times, again, perhaps over the course of many generations, with different stylistic tastes happening a little bit, probably working with brushes and reeds, and in sort of earthbound, earth-sourced pigments, ochres, perhaps charcoals as well. What you can also see is there's no background, meaning there is no reference to nature or plants or mountains or any kind of, landscape setting, as we say in the art world. It's just the animals. Moving forward here, let me show you a close-up of that bull that I was talking about. Remember, he was rendered in outline. Now, even when we were small children and you're drawing an animal, a fish, a dog, that kind of thing, usually you would draw the animal from side view. That is the most recognizable view to recognize an animal like a horse or a cow or a deer or a bull in this instance. A frontal view would be a little bit more ambiguous. You would be quite sure what animal that is. But a side view is very recognizable. But if it was a true side view, one horn would block the other, wouldn't it? This is where that concept of twisted perspective comes in. So even though most of the animal is rendered in true side or profile view, what they did in the Paleolithic world is just sort of twist those horns slightly forward so that you can see both horns, because horns are why bulls are so recognizable. That's an iconic ingredient to the bull recipe. So that's twisted perspective. So this is the beginning of an idea that we'll be talking about a lot in this class, and that is concept reigns supreme over naturalism, meaning it's more important for them to have you visually understand what you're looking at than to be optically true to its reality or the naturalism as experienced by the human eye. So again, concept over naturalism is the very common goal in Paleolithic France. All right. When I come back, we're going to look at a very rare example of a human figure in Paleolithic art at the caves at Lascaux, and then I'll show you a couple more sites to see more animals and more trends in their tastes and subject areas. All right, see you in a few minutes.